Part of what we are doing, the United West, our organization, and why we were so interested in coming here to help, we have this timeline of 2 weeks to stop Congress, have them stop the deal, then 435 days to get good people elected. If the deal goes through, and regardless of what even happens on November 8th, we need an army of men and women willing to stand with Israel if indeed Israel has to extend itself to protect not only itself, but historically, as we've seen in Syria, in Osric, in Iraq, and other places, help save Western civilization. And we know on that day, if something has to happen, the world will be divided against Israel. We're trying to raise an army of men and women, Jews, Christians, whatever, at that day to stand with Israel, put pressure on this government to resupply, which didn't occur at the Operation Protective Edge with this administration, to resupply and to assist if necessary. Because two things. If every Jew in the world disappeared tomorrow and Israel was Judean-free, Jew-free, you think Islamic jihad is over? No, it's just an easier path to the West. Right now, we have 7 million people who have said, we'll go stand there and be a bulwark against 330 million people surrounding us who hate us and want to annihilate us. We'll take up that challenge. And we bitch and moan and complain about sending a few dollars over there to help our Eastern Front for Western civilization. Those are big issues. One of the most significant men I know that understands this, a dear friend, we're going to see now. When we were invited to help put this on, I called him immediately, and he couldn't come here. But he said, I'll put a little video together for the group. And this individual spent 34 years in the United States Army and was one of the founders of Delta Force, and had a distinguished career, then served in the CIA and in the Department of Defense, and retired as a general. He happens to be a Christian minister. He works for a family research council in Washington, D.C., and on a very difficult night back, I think it was 1981, he was on his way to help some Americans, and they had a serious problem. And now every single year, General Jerry Boykin, who you're going to see, goes to Arlington to honor the 9 men who were killed on Operation Phantom Claw, which was the effort to go rescue the 54 Americans that were held for 444 days. Jerry Boykin was one of the Delta Force soldiers that was in the desert in Iran when the helicopters hit. And he's coming to you right now by video. But if he could, he would be here with us, believe me.
Hi, my name is Jerry Boykin. I'm talking to you today from our studios here in Washington, D.C. at the Family Research Council. We are a Christian organization that has a very deep passion for the nation of Israel and the Jewish people. I want to talk to you very briefly about this so-called deal with Iran. This is a bad deal, the first thing I want to say. This is a situation in which the United States, the most powerful nation in the world, is going to ensure that the Iranians get a nuclear weapon in a matter of a few years. It's almost incomprehensible that as the world watches us, expecting America to provide leadership, to make the world safer, to protect our own nation, as the world watches us disintegrate, as we go into this agreement with the Iranian mullahs, who have threatened the very existence of our ally Israel, as well as have threatened America's future. This is not a good deal. The Iranians will have a nuclear weapon. Now, one of the problems is that Americans tend to look at things through American eyes. Americans would say, as they look at this situation, well, okay, so what's so bad about the Iranians having a nuclear weapon? Ultimately, we've lived through the Cold War. We've had nuclear weapons since 1945, and we've contained it. There's been no use of nuclear weapons. The Iranians would be foolish to use a nuclear weapon against Israel, the nation that they have consistently condemned, the nation that they've consistently said that they would wipe off the face of the earth. Well, that's Western logic to say that they would not use a nuclear weapon against Israel. The Western logic says that would be foolish because the Israelis would respond with their nuclear weapons and that they would destroy the city of Tehran. 5 million plus people would be killed. Yeah, well, let's think about this for a second. First of all, with one nuclear weapon dropped in a strategic location inside Israel, they can wipe out the entire nation of Israel and kill the Jews that have made this into not only a very prosperous nation, but a strong ally of America. One nuclear weapon. Yeah, the Israelis would respond, and they would wipe out Tehran, but in the minds of the mullahs, in the minds of the Grand Ayatollah, Ali Khamenei, and those other mullahs that surround him at the Supreme Council of Iran, what they will have done is just sent millions of Jews directly to hell because these Jews are so hated. These Jews are infidels, and the most despicable type of infidel. And then when the Israelis respond and destroy Tehran, what happens to all of the 5+ million people in Tehran that are killed in a nuclear retaliatory strike is that they all go to heaven because they're martyrs. You think this is a fictitious theology? No, it's the theology of the leadership of Iran. You see, because as Shia Twelvers, they believe that the way to bring their Messiah back, their Mahdi, to bring him back so that he will establish global Sharia and reign for eternity, is to create global bloodshed and chaos. Is there any better way for them to create global bloodshed and chaos than using a nuclear weapon against Israel? This is an existential threat to Israel. Existential simply meaning it threatens the very existence of Israel. But it's not just a problem for Israel. It's a problem for America because the Iranians have also threatened America. They've also made very clear their intentions to do all they can to destroy the great Satan, which is what they call us. It's just incredible that the leadership of this country would enter into an agreement knowing that that agreement will ultimately result in the Iranians having a nuclear weapon. And let me say from my own perspective and from my own studies, the Iranians are already far closer to having a nuclear warhead than anyone seems to be willing to acknowledge and that I think most of the world understands. This is a bad deal. This is not in the best interest of Israel. It's not in the best interest of America. And aside from the threats that are posed, it also increases the likelihood that America is going to wind up isolating ourselves from just about all of our allies all over the world. This is a bad situation. This is a bad deal. And America has been taking the lead on this. I say it's time for us to do all we can by contacting every member of Congress, every member of the Senate in particular, and demanding that this deal be canceled, demanding that not one penny of U.S. money be spent in support of this, demanding that we use all of our elements of national power, to include our economic and diplomatic power, to stop this deal from going through and to protect our friends in Israel and to stand by the obligations, but most of all, to do what we know, according to the Bible, is essential to the survival of America, and that is support Israel. Because Genesis 12:3 is very clear. When God says, I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. Do not curse Israel. There is a price to be paid. God bless you.